It's the Happy Families podcast. It's the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now.
It's not about whether they're beautiful or not. It's not about if they're the fastest guy on the track team. It's actually about who they are, the qualities that they possess and the way it makes other people feel.
And now here's the stars of our show, my mum and dad.
Well, hello, Mrs. Happy Families. I'm excited for today. I've got two events today where I'm speaking. The first is for Catholic Schools New South Wales. I'm speaking to all of their chaplains, all their pastoral carers. Going to be talking about little people and big feelings. Little people.
We've had a whole lot of experience with a whole lot of little people and a whole lot of big emotions.
And then tonight, I'm super excited for this one as well. Two great events. Tonight, I'm going to be at the Anglican Church Grammar School in East Brisbane, otherwise known as Churchy. Going to be talking about bringing up boys and having conversations about all the good stuff, like boys and gaming, and boys and screens, and boys and girls, and boys and pornography, and boys and alcohol and other substances. Like, it's going to be such a great night. Parents, a couple of hours with parents at Churchy. It's going to be fantastic. And today, Kylie, we have got a question that has come through to podcasts at happyfamilies.com.au. Can I read it out to you?
Go.
It says, hey, I have a question for the podcast. This one's from Sarah in Victoria. My husband and I differ on how much we think we should tell our kids they're beautiful and handsome. He thinks that telling them often will help them to feel good and confident about themselves, and maybe even stop our daughters from falling for the first guy that compliments them. He's great with encouraging words, and I have to admit that I appreciate it when he tells me I'm beautiful. However, I don't think we should be encouraging them to dwell on physical beauty. I'm worried that they'll think that it's important to be beautiful or handsome, and it may increase how conscious they are about the way they look. So, which is it? Should we tell our kids they're beautiful? What a great question. We have 6 daughters. This is something that we have talked about a number of times in our home. Physical beauty. Do we make comments about it? Do we talk about, wow, you look great? What are your initial reactions before we dive into some research and some thoughts?
I don't think there's anything wrong with telling your children that they're beautiful or they're handsome. But if it's the only thing we're focused on, then I think we're setting them up to, not to fail, but to have a really, really limited view of themselves.
You're so pragmatic. I love that. Setting them up to have a limited view of themselves if that's what our central focus is. So are you saying that it's okay to tell the kids that they look beautiful?
The reality is there's someone out there who's going to tell me that, no, you shouldn't be doing it. It's an evaluation of someone's appearance.
Right.
I wouldn't do that in a childcare setting with a painting. I wouldn't tell them that I thought their painting was beautiful. I would describe the things that I saw about it that I enjoyed or I loved, but I wouldn't put an evaluation on it. So there's going to be lots of people out there that would say that it would be putting an evaluation on it. Do I think there's any problem with telling your daughter or your son that they look beautiful? No, I don't.
So when
I think, as she stated, there is something reassuring when the person you love in your life tells you that you're beautiful.
How do you feel when I tell you that you look?
I feel like the most beautiful woman in the world.
Yeah.
I could conquer anything.
How about that song by Eric Clapton?
You look beautiful tonight?
Wonderful, wonderful tonight.
No, I look beautiful.
Right. Love that. So let's talk about some research here. Renee Engeln has written a book called Beauty Sick. I think it is the Bible on this particular topic. Her research is exquisite, so well done, and the book is brilliantly written. It is absolutely one of my top 10 books of all time, and absolutely one of the best books that I've ever read about girls and the issues around beauty. What we know is that whether we say this stuff or not, from around about the age of 5, our daughters specifically, much more than our sons, are worried about how they look and want to change things about their appearance. Now, I can't remember the exact stats. They're in Renee Elgin's Beauty Sick book. But something like 1/3 of our 5-year-olds are already wanting to change something about their appearance. They're already worried about how they look. One of the challenges that you have when you start giving praise and talking about how somebody looks is you increase the focus on how they look. And so we've got to be really careful that we don't overdo it. And something that did stand out to me in Sarah's email was her husband thinks that telling them often will help them feel good and confident about themselves. And he's right. But if we tell them too often, it can do the opposite. It can lead them to start to become reliant on the external evaluation of somebody else to help them to feel that they are enough.
That's right. And his hope that doing it on his end will actually stop her from falling for the first guy
that compliments them
is actually not the case. It's actually going to create that desire and need to be told.
It has the potential to. I don't want to say that it will, but it has the potential to. Because if this girl, for example, if his daughter keeps on hearing, oh, my dad thinks that I'm beautiful, I'm so beautiful, and then she's with a guy who says the same thing, oh, you're so beautiful, she said, oh, now I feel reassured. I'm feeling those same feelings now that I feel when my dad tells me, except they're even better because they're coming from this boy that I like. And so we know story after story of girls who have fallen for boys who have whispered sweet nothings in their ears and told them how beautiful they are. So
for me, I just look at the fact that beauty is number one, it's so subjective, and it's also so changing. As a 5-year-old, what beautiful looks like to what it looks like as a 15-year-old, and then as a 25-year-old, and then as a 50-year-old, our beauty changes. Our physical appearance is constantly changing. And if our focus is so honed in on the physical, it's hard to accept the changes for what they are.
After the break, I'm going to share a handful of ways that we can offer encouraging words to our children and help them to feel like they are enough, regardless of whether they feel beautiful or not. Your daughter just walked by, eyes glued to her phone, expression unreadable. You ask her to put it down, but she balks. You know it's not good for her, but you're not sure why or how to support better choices. In the webinar Pixel Perfect, I join with psychologist and teen tech expert Jocelyn Brewer to discuss how to set screen boundaries that work for you and your daughter. Check out Pixel Perfect now on the Happy Families webshop.
It's the Happy Families podcast, the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now. It's interesting, this whole conversation around beauty. And you've obviously mentioned your book, Beauty Sick, that you read.
Yeah, by Dr. Renee Engel, highly recommended. I actually wrote a few things in Misconnection about our daughters who want to be pixel perfect and this desire to look amazing. And I thought I might share a couple of those ideas as we go through this. Something that comes up all the time is we just need to teach our kids to be critical of what they see in the media. We need to teach them about Photoshop. We need to teach them that every picture that you see on screen
But they know that. And you know why they know that? Because 90% of what they post of themselves is filtered.
That's exactly right. And what I was going to say is they know it, but it doesn't stop them aspiring to it.
No, they filter because they're trying to be.
Precisely. But more than that, while we're doing that, we are still focused on looks. We're still focused on appearance. I actually think the best thing that we can do when we are having conversations with people, when we see someone that we haven't bumped into for ages, is to not say anything about how they look. Like, just try it. Next time you see someone you haven't seen for ages, try and not say, oh, you look great, or you look like you've lost weight, or wow, you look fantastic, or like it's one of those natural things that we say. We see someone and one of the first things we do is comment on their appearance.
I reckon you've just lost half the mums right now because everyone loves hearing that.
Well, they do, I know, but the thing is, we wonder why our kids are so worried about their appearance, but every time we bump into somebody, we talk about their appearance. It's one of the first things that we say. And it's an unhealthy obsession with appearance. Why can't we just say, it is so great to see you? Or, it's been so long since we've caught up. This is going to be such a great chance to talk. Like, why do we have to focus on appearance?
I think that, if we could counter, like I said from the very beginning, I don't see any problems telling your child that, they're beautiful. But one of the things that you and I are very specific about is you're beautiful inside and out.
Right.
What are the things about your child? What is their, like their personality makeup, their value system? What is it, their strengths? Help them to recognize and see those things, because those things actually improve with age and just get better and better. They're where they will find their sense of worth.
I'm probably going to butcher this, but in her book Beauty Sick, Renee Engel actually says something that her grandfather used to say to her. It was to do with her youth and her beauty.
Yes, and I remember you telling me about
She
this.
basically said her grandpa would say, don't ever think that there's anything special about your youth or your beauty, because you did nothing to deserve it and you can do nothing to keep it.
Yeah.
It's really about who are you becoming? And I think that if we go back to Sarah's email, is it okay to tell your daughter that she's beautiful or tell your son that he's handsome? from a practical point of view, as you said, Kylie, at the very beginning of this conversation, yeah, like it feels nice to be appreciated and to go to some effort on your appearance and have somebody notice it. It does feel nice, but we can't make that the focus. I don't know where we get this horrible idea from, and our daughters carry it more than anyone else, this sense that my value as a person is inextricably linked to my physical appearance, and my worth, I'm only worthy if I look a certain way.
I had a conversation with a friend the other day, and it wasn't about her physical appearance. She's just started a new job and she's feeling the pressure because her new boss feels like my friend is her living savior. She's come in and swept her off her feet and is doing things that no other person in her position has ever done for her before. And she can't believe her eyes. And so my friend's kind of feeling the weight of that. And I just said to her, this actually hasn't got anything to do with what you're doing. This actually has everything to do with who you are. She doesn't have to do anything extreme. It's because of who she is, the way she thinks, the way she just goes out of her way to do little things that lighten her boss's load. She's not doing anything massive. It's just because of the way she is. It's who she is. And that's what we need our children to understand. It's not about whether they're beautiful or not. It's not about if they're the fastest guy on the track team. It's actually about who they are, the qualities that they possess and the way it makes other people feel.
Yeah, it's not about the dress. It's about the girl in the dress.
Yeah.
A few years ago, I was on the Today Show and we were having this conversation about whether or not we should tell our kids if they're a bit chunky, if they're a bit overweight, if they're fat. And I made the comment, no, actually, we shouldn't. And the person who was hosting that day, who will remain nameless, said, but surely if your kids are fat, you need to let them know. And my response to that person was, they already know they're fat. You don't need to tell them. The conversation was, we need to watch what's going into our kids' mouths. We need to be in charge of the pantry. We need to help our children to be beautiful because that's the expectation in society. They need to be healthy and beautiful. And I think my final advice in this conversation, it comes from James Corden, the British comedian.
Okay. I'm not sure where you're going with this.
He had a viral video a couple of years ago from his late night talk show, and I can't remember the full context, but it was about weight issues and appearance. And he just said, instead of watching what goes into our daughters' mouths, we need to watch what comes out of ours. How good is that? So, Sarah, in relation to your question, what comes out of your mouth should be uplifting and positive. It should help your kids to feel good about themselves, but more than anything, it should help them to not be reliant on you for evaluations of their value and worth as a human. If they look beautiful, that's great. Let them know. But focus on other things more.
As they come to recognise what their strengths are, that's actually where they get their fulfilment and their sense of purpose as they tap into those strengths.
And they use them to help other people.
Yeah, and they don't need the constant affirmation from outside sources to help them feel a sense of worth.
Well, we really hope that this conversation has been helpful for you, Sarah. Tomorrow, a big discussion, an interview with Life Education. They have a brand new campaign that's just come out all about transitioning to high school. So we're going to be talking to the team from Life Education about that. The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rulon from Bridge Media with Craig Bruce as our executive producer. For more information about making your family happier, please join us at happyfamilies.com.au.